Hello folks, welcome to this video here. I'm going to be talking about the Motorsport Games which took place last weekend out of Rome and Vallelunga, and it's something that I find quite interesting. So I'm going to be explaining the concept, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the results, but also talking about what are the things that I liked from it and what are the things that I thought could be built on potentially in the future. So the Motorsport Games took place over 6 disciplines. There was GT, which I believe used GT3. There were touring cars, which used TCR specs. There were Formula 4, which I also think was some of the first Formula 4 cars to use a halo. There was drifting, there was a karting slalom, and there were also esports, which used Gran Turismo. And we saw 49 different national organisations entering, nearly 170 athletes. Some teams entered in all categories. France, Italy, Kuwait and Russia did that. But there were some which only featured in a few and some which only featured in one. The karting slalom, for example, ended up with a lot of nations such as Serbia and Albania who only took part in that discipline. And the results were quite interesting as well. The gold medals were split across 6 different nations. The eventual winners of the Motorsport Games were Russia because they picked up 2 bronzes along the way as well. But you saw a diversity in the kind of turnout of, well, manufacturers on top of that. So we saw multiple different marques taking place in, say, the GT Cup and the Touring Car Cup, where they're built to certain FIA regulations. TCR also saw the debut of the new MG TCR, which was driven by such drivers as Rory Butcher, British touring car driver. And that's one of the things that's quite fascinating, to talk about these kinds of sets of regulations and going, oh, this is where they all come together. And this is one of the things I like about the idea of the Motorsport Games, and you can watch all of these playback. I'll put a description, I'll put in the description below, should I say, a link to the GT World YouTube channel. You can find that it's this kind of amalgamation of all of these FIA specs, and that's one of the things which I think they could work on for the future. I think that 6 disciplines is a nice way to start it off, but they need to have more and more and more and more and more. One of the ones that springs to mind straight away for me is rallying. And this is something they could do with Rome, or even just outside of it. Like, we have San Remo for rallying, but we also have the ERC, Rally di Roma Capitale. There are actual, like, rally stages near the area. And this is where it could take more and more of an Olympic model, where it's like, oh, different stadiums do different bits and pieces, and different countries host it. I would love to see that. Rallying, they could use, say, the new R4 kit cars, but they could also use R5s because they're the tried and tested formula. They're just shy of the World Rally Car specs, but they're also the ones used in international championships, such as the ERC. It would be something that I would find really interesting, the use of things like the R5s, because it would also really kind of boost manufacturers. So, for example, in terms of the R5, you've got like Hyundai, Citroen, Skoda. It could also mean that others push for homologation, like Mitsubishi and Proton, which I would just find amazing. You'd have a variety of drivers in a variety of different cars. And that's what I think something like the Motorsport Games is brilliant at doing. It brings in all of these elements that we've seen in motorsport, but also brings in little different bits and pieces that we haven't seen as much of. It's one of the reasons why I loved things, ideas like the A1GP. I would love to see more and more of this happening, more and more disciplines coming in, and more big names being attracted to it. And that's why I enjoy the idea of something like the Motorsport Games. Like I said, you can check out all of the kind of events and footage in the description below. And I want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all stick around. Make sure to like, hit subscribe. You can hit the bell notification to be notified for my daily uploads and also when I'm streaming. And yeah, I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye for now.